Good day everyone. Good day sir. My name is Nicole Mangay. I am from BS Ed 2E together with Christine Roque, and we will report the first part of our topic which is the nature and importance of climate in terms of ecosystem, habitat, and human land use practices. So first, let's tackle about the importance of climate. Climate is an important environmental influence in ecosystem in many ways. For example, warming may force species to migrate to higher parts of the ocean where they can feel assured of their survival and to feel the temperatures with more conducive to live. These are the some categories that may affect or connected to the human health and well-being. The climate change, land use change, desertification, land degradation and deforestation, freshwater decline, biotic exchange, global transport and global trade, stratospheric ozone depletion, and the atmosphere CO and deposition. Next slide is about the ecosystem. First, let's talk about the meaning of ecosystem. Ecosystem is the geographic area where plants, animals, and other organisms, as well as weather and landscapes, work together to form a bubble of life. It is also a place or community of living and non-living things can work together. For examples, for example, is the flora and fauna. Flora is talks about the or or plants' life present in a particular region or time. Like for example, evergreen trees, bamboos, and other plants are trees that can be located on a particular place. Um, while fauna is the corresponding term for the animal life. Kung yung flora talks about the plant's life, ang fauna naman ay tumutukoy sa buhay ng mga hayop or animal life. Like for example, the monkeys, snakes that can be seen on a wild forest and etc. Also, other form of life like such as fungi, bacteria like that. And let's go back to the topic. The impact of climate change on a particular kind of ripple through food webs and affects the wide range of other organisms. Climate also affects the terrestrial, aquatic, and marine ecosystem. Some areas where ecosystem were affected by climate are the following. First one is the food chain. How how the climate change affect the food chain? Climate change affects the food chain in a way that when the temperature rises, the efficiency of food chain will be or could be reduced. Like for example, on the survival of the animals like pigs, goats, chickens, and etc. It might be threatened, and it reduces the number of meats that we can avail or buy in the market. Yun na nga. Also, the food chain yung maapektuhan kunyari na tagtuyot na and syempre mawawalan ng mga grass, walang makakain yung grasshoppers. And pag walang grasshoppers, walang makakain yung susunod na pwedeng kumain din sa grasshopper ganon. And next is the natural resources. Climate change affect the natural resources when it comes to the intense precipitation events like floodings and erosions. Syempre pag nagkaroon na nito ng mga floodings, ng mga erosion, mababawasan yung mga natural resources na kaya nating um, ma makuha or yun nga, maaapektuhan yung natural resources na meron tayo kasi mababawasan yung mababawasan yung um, numbers or yung availability nito kasi nga naapektuhan siya because of the climate change. Next is the production of goods. Climate change can affect the production of goods when it comes to increases in temperatures, changes in extreme weather, weather events, reduction in water availability, and etc. The best example for this for the production of goods is the production of rice. Kasi pag tagtuyot o kaya tag-ulan, mas nababawasan yung pag-produce ng pagkain or pag-produce ng bigas. Kagaya nangyayari pag nagkakaroon ng bagyo ganon. Pag nagbabago yung panahon, mas lalong naapektuhan yung um, pag pag-produce natin ng mga palay. Next is the number of supplies. Syempre pag ganun na i-connect na rin natin ito sa sa pag sa palay. Pag nagbago yung climate at naapektuhan yung yung alaga nating palay, mababawasan din yung numbers of supplies kasi nga yung iba masisira, ganon. And also, the next is the quality of foods. Syempre, yun na. Pag pag nagkaroon na ng climate change, tapos naapektuhan na yung bigas, mga ganon. Syempre, yung iba nasisira. Tapos syempre, yung iba na nagiging kulay, um, nagiging, parang nagkakaroon na siya ng low quality kasi nga, hindi na siya basa na yung iba, naulanan, mga ganon-ganon. And the quantity of foods, yun na, yung kalidad or hindi, yung bilang na nung goods, syempre malilesen na siya kasi sira na nga yung iba, like that. And next is the habitats. So, first, what is the meaning of habitat or habitats? It is the natural home or environment of an animal, plant, or other organism where they naturally or normally lives and grows. Like for example, the lakes, forests, deserts, grasslands, and etc. And also how climate affects the habitat. Climate is a big contributing factors to destruction of habitats, either in animals or humans. You can see it also in today's situation where typhoons destroys houses. Typhoons take causes by climate change. Some examples that cause destructions to habitats are the drought, floods, landslides, soil erosion, heat waves, rise of sea levels, forest fire. So, sabihin ko na lang dito yung mga meaning ng mga yon. Yung drought ay it is a prolonged dry period in a natural climate cycle. It is when the climate system traps the excess heat while which causes the draws out more the moist from soil or tinatawag to na tagtuyot. While next one is the floods. It is an overflowing of a large amount of water beyond its normal floods. Again, the flood is an overflowing of a large amount of water beyond its normal confines. Like, next, landslide. Siyempre, alam naman na natin ito yung mga soil erosion, heat waves, rises of sea levels, and forest fires. Ikaw natin.
Okay, so let's proceed to the human and land use practices. So these are the human and land use practices that is affected by climate change. So number one is the fishing.
Wait, be.
Sa pangingisda.
Iko lang.
Okay, so let's proceed to the human and land use practices. So these are the human and land use practices that is affected by climate change. So number one is the fishing. We all know that fishing is the main ito yung pinaka-main na pinagkukuhanan ng pamumuhay ng mga tao. So when typhoon arrives, when pag nagkaroon ng typhoon, syempre the 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 people na nag-fishing, maliles yung opportunity nila para makapangisda kasi nga the climate is not doing well. Pwede silang madisgrasya or it can be the cause of their disgrasya pag nagtuloy pa silang nangingisda. So magkakaroon yun ng epekto sa kanilang pamumuhay. Next is the farming. So uh, gaya na sinabi ni Nicole, farming is the main main thing that is affected by climate. So if the farmers struggle in coping up with the climate kasi pag nagtanim sila dapat nakasakto siya na hindi ganong umuulan, hindi ganong mainit kasi when pag tuloy-tuloy yung ulan, ibig sabihin yung palayan mas madaming tubig, nagkakaroon ng epekto sa palay, masisira yung palay. And then next is the building of structure. Syempre, when construction workers build a building or an infrastructures, they consider the weather when it comes to the producing and the manufacturing of the materials. Kunwari, kapag nagtatayo sila ng 10-story building, hindi naman sila pwedeng magtayo ng building or hindi nila pwedeng ituloy yung construction of the building itself because of the typhoon. Kunwari may bagyo. Siyempre, malakas yung ulan, mahangin, the lives of the construction workers will be at risk if they continue to build a building or an infrastructure during a typhoon. So next is the natural resources that used in production of goods. The best example is the local materials or raw materials that is used in producing a goods or in producing a material. For example, um, pag pag sa mga furnitures, pag na may bagyo, syempre, magkakaroon ng soil erosion sa mga bundok, yung mga trees masisira, magaganito ganyan. Nagkakaroon ng less production of materials, yung mga halaman, yung mga materials na pwedeng magamit to produce a goods nababawasan dahil nga yung climate change. Kunwari may bagyo, may lindol, ganon. So, next is the production of materials needed for building. Ito naman yung mga mas malalaking materials or mas malalaking raw materials na ginagamit sa pagbibuild ng mas malalaking infrastructures and buildings. So, next slide. So, these are the other changes. Number one is the degradation. It is the process that renders an object useless or lose useful in overtime. It is the reduction of chemical compound, a process which natural environment is compromised in some ways, reducing biological diversity and the general health of the environment caused by human activities. So next is the concentration. Dito naman, it simply explains that it provides an experimental framework to support students in the exploration of issues. Next is the definition. And this is considered as a significant threat to biodiversity, loss of animal life in region or habitat. Next changes where climate change is involved is the fragmentation. Fragmentation is the process during which a large expanse of habitat is transformed into a number of smaller patches. Kunwari, yung dating community na merong kunwari sa forest, yung dating malawak na kapaligiran, may mga puno ng mga ano, ganito, ganyan halaman. Nagkakaroon na lang siya ng small areas where the animals can go to. Yung mga animals nagkakaroon ng limited na place na pwede nilang tirahan kasi nga due to the climate change itself, it affects the forest itself. Nagkakaroon ng changes sa physical appearance ng forest. Nagiging unhealthy yung forest itself kasi nga yung climate change. Next is the ocean acidification. So in ocean acidification, it is the ongoing decrease in the pH value of the Earth's ocean. So let's proceed to the ocean acidification. So in ocean acidification, it is the ongoing decrease in the pH value of Earth's ocean caused by uptake of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So sa pagkakaroon or pagbaba ng level ng pH value sa mga oceans dito sa Earth, nagkakaroon siya ng epekto sa kung gaano ka healthy yung ocean itself. Kasi nga yung carbon dioxide nagkakaroon ng naapektuhan nito yung pH level ng oceans. So burning of fossil fuels, one of the several effect of climate change. So yun po. Next yan. Okay, so let us proceed to the last part of the presentation. So we leave a quote here saying that the world has about 12 years to reduce global net carbon emissions by half to avoid impacts and destructions. But even if the targets achieved, the potential impacts of global warming are likely to continue for decades and centuries. So it simply explains that our world, parang meron na lang siyang 12 years na palugit para mabawasan yung mga situation or mga reason kung bakit nagkakaroon ng climate change or global warming. Pwede nating itong bawasan in span of 12 years lamang. If magkakaroon man tayo ng solution for this or magkakaimbento man sila ng ways how to prevent or how to lessen the burden of the climate change sa epekto nito sa ating mundo, which is kahit magkaroon ng mga ganitong bagay or magkaroon sila ng ng ways to prevent this, the destruction of the physical appearance of the earth magkakaroon pa rin siya ng difference. Masisira at masisira pa din kahit na yung target natin na solution is ma-achieve natin, magkakaroon pa rin siya ng impact kasi nga nasimulan na siya and throughout the past years, na meron ng mga nagawa ang tao na nakapag-create ng reason para magkaroon ng global warming. So, yun po. Thank you for listening.
That's all, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.